Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. We got a real treat for you today. I hope everybody's excited. Hope everybody's had a good week because we're coming live and direct here on a Friday night for this Talk That Talk Show. It's hard, like I said, hard to believe that we're at 102 episodes, but there's no break since this 100th episode. We're just going to keep on going forward, keep bringing you that heat. Shout out to Doc, who celebrated her 33rd birthday.
Happy birthday, Doc G!
And then, yeah, man, we got a great show lined up for you. If you're looking for a guest appearance, we have somebody that was previously here on the show before. I think you're going to be really entertained and excited, maybe surprised at times by what he says, but it's going to be a great episode for you all. I know you've been itching since the 100th episode to get some guests back in here, so, without further ado, I'm going to get to it a little bit later, but, want to definitely talk about our sponsor. I know I usually talk about our sponsors, so definitely want to give a shout out to Sky-Dye Socks. My boy Savion's doing big things, helping people to get their stuff tie-dyed and coming out fresh. Want to give a shout out to my boy Joe Snow and Maria over at New York Life, helping people to get their financial freedom daily. Also want to give a big shout out to my boy Timmy Hugel over at Parlor, really helping to basically put my threads out there and make everything dope. And he's been a big part of the success of this merch. And then also want to give a shout out to Air We Are. It's starting to get hotter out there, so I'm going to want to hit up my boy Jeff Galata over there and see if you can get your heating and cooling in order, because summer's right around the corner. You never know when you're going to need it. But I definitely wanted to talk about our one sponsor, and that was VW Liquors. They were actually our first ever sponsor, and I'm just sad to say that this will probably be our last week with them as a sponsor, being that they're going to be selling the business. And, it's sad because, for me, that's a place that it was the first place that I had gotten alcohol when I first turned 21. And the amazing partnership that we've had over these past couple of years, from me just starting out this podcast to the point where they gave me a dope-ass golf bag, which I constantly get compliments on at the golf course. Just overall conversations, sharing those Mets conversations, and just the overall genuine niceness that they gave me over there. And I'm sad to see them go as one of our sponsors, and especially one of the staples here in Edison. And I think that it definitely speaks to a large issue of just how these small businesses are struggling, and just the effect that it's had. I mean, Dave was telling me that they had been around since the early 1980s, and to have that business now, like I said, our first sponsor that's going to get bought out and the business is going to be closing. It's a tough pill to swallow, but at the same time, if there's any time to have a sense of urgency to try and get some new sponsors, I think now's the time to do that. I think it's also very easy to get comfortable with certain things, and to get comfortable with certain sponsors that we have, and to get content with where you are. So I look at this as a new opportunity to go out there and see what else we can get as a new sponsorship. And sad to see VW Liquors go, but if you guys live in the tri-state area, live in Edison, try to give them as much business as possible before they close, because like I said, Dave's a really cool dude. He's been great to not only me, but my family as well, too. So, big shout out to VW Liquors, and, best of wishes, and, good luck in the future to Dave and all the rest of the staff over there at VW Liquors.
We love you, VW. We're going to miss you.
Yeah, man. So, moving on from that, we got to bring the turns a little bit lighter here, and we got to talk about a team that I'm very happy to be a fan of. And I told a lot of people beforehand that there's going to be a lot of talk about them today. Shout out to my Uncle Mickey on on Facebook live stream. We got Ish. We got my boy Al on our Instagram live stream. Josh. We got Brian Spawn also on our Instagram live stream. wouldn't have got to 13,000 downloads, or wouldn't have gotten to over was it 100 episodes here if it wasn't for you all that continuously tune in. So your support is greatly appreciated. And one of the things, like I said, that I want to talk about is just how well this Knicks team is playing. We had Carlos that said they were 11-0 against the spread. So bettors like my boy Jeffrey, they've been eating on these parlays, putting the Knicks on there. But most importantly, the Knicks have been winning some really tough games, and taking some games that maybe they shouldn't have won, and really coming out with a win on top from just fighting from behind. And I think that first and foremost, somebody that did get some acclaim by getting that all-star selection, but still seems just a tad underrated. And you got to give props to Julius Randle, who I think last night scored another 40-point game. And the consistency that he's been able to lead this team night in and night out has been very, very impressive, especially coming from where the Lakers, he was outcast. He said, this guy can't play anymore. Then with the Pelicans, he did a little bit better, but still wasn't exactly quite there. And even last season, you saw some growing pains, and you had people that didn't want Julius Randle to dribble the basketball. I remember, Abe saying specifically, why is this guy dribbling? But now you're talking to a point this year where, over 70% of the offense is getting run through this guy, where you have guards that are going up in transition and throwing the ball first to Julius Randle. And I think that, for me, 100%, you got to put him in that most valuable player conversation because, first and foremost, you talk about a Knicks team that is now in the 4th place in the Eastern Conference. And, would the Knicks be in 4th place had it not been for my boy Julius Randle? I absolutely don't think so. And, to talk about the actual award of most valuable player, you got to think as far as who is the most valuable to the success of that team. And it's so easy to say, a James Harden, because, James Harden's been absolutely balling. You could go and say Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell has that Jazz team playing really well in the Western Conference. You could even go and just say Nikola Jokic, because of what he did. He's kind of fizzled off a little bit. But, you're not wrong in picking those guys. But, we're not hearing enough Julius Randle being thrown in that conversation because, like I said, what he's been able to do with whether it's triple-doubles, consistent scoring, the leadership. I think the underlying factor, one of the things that is not talked about a lot, is just the work ethic that was put in by Julius Randle. They talked before about how Kobe instilled this work ethic to him to shooting in the gym at away games, and we had a point where, now that's transcended to the entire team, and Tom Thibodeau's having a lockout on the day off just so these guys can take a break from working so hard. I think that's a huge step in the right direction for the Knicks. And, Julius Randle is a considerable MVP candidate, and I wish that he would get more acclaim. But I think the biggest thing as far as why this Knicks team is playing so well is the fact that you have guys that know their role and understand their role. If you look at previous episodes where I talk about the Knicks and before the 50th episode, so I'd say like pre-50 episodes, one of the things we talked about with that Knicks team was that you had a lot of role players that struggled to figure out what their role was. And David Fizdale was a great coach, don't get me wrong, over in Memphis, but what he struggled to do in New York was have these guys have confidence in their role. He had guys that were playing outside of their role, and here you have where Tom Thibodeau is highlighting and excelling the strengths of people's games and putting it into a consistently competitive team. I mean, you're talking about the Knicks that were giving up countless points week in, week out, and now you have one of the top tier defenses in the entire league. I think that that's something to definitely give to Tom Thibodeau because, understanding roles for adults, not just NBA players, but adults, is a tough thing to do. And, for Tom Thibodeau to say, hey, Frank Ntilikina, you're not going to play. Hey, Kevin Knox, you're not going to play. But when you come in, you better be ready to let that thing go. And what I have seen is I've seen Kevin Knox hit way more shots than I've seen beforehand from eating that bench. I've seen Frank Ntilikina, even though he can't stop a nosebleed without fouling, he's out there understanding his role of giving tough defense no matter how many minutes he's played. And then, going across the board, I don't think that Nerlens Noel is somebody that's getting enough credit as well, too. When Mitchell Robinson went down, all we heard about is how terrible the Knicks defense was going to be inside. But what we saw was Nerlens Noel create a situation that when Mitchell Robinson comes back, he might have a hard time getting that starting job back. Because what we've seen What we've seen Nerlens Noel do is he's limited offensive rebounding opportunities. He's been getting defensive rebounds. And above all things, this man has been protecting the rim and getting blocks.
Oh my gosh.
And I tell you what, especially the thing that for me separates this guy Nerlens Noel from a Mitchell Robinson is that Mitchell Robinson, great interior defender, but the guy struggles to get out of foul trouble. And what we've seen from Nerlens Noel is this guy is able to defend the rim without playing with fouls. And I think that's a very underrated trait, and especially where you have guys that are consistently attacking the rim. And he's been providing an excellent rim protection up for there. So, I got to give him a lot of credit as well, too. And, a lot of people are talking about Derrick Rose. And, what I've seen from him is, somebody, again, who understands and is playing his role. Is he a starter right now? Absolutely not. But what he's coming in as an aggressive offensive threat for that second unit. Sometimes with Alex Burke, that's his role, and when he's been going out there scoring. But, Derrick Rose is really taking that opportunity to be aggressive on offense, facilitate the offense, because a lot of times what we've seen from this Knicks team is when Julius Randle is not in the game, a lot of the times the offense isn't as fluid at times, and you have a lot of standing and watching. And what Derrick Rose does is he forces the issue and creates opportunities for those guys like Reggie Bullock, who might not be able to create for themselves. And let me talk about Reggie Bullock as somebody who hit the game-tying three-pointer. He's looking more and more confident as each game goes by. And when you look at the other teams that he was on, Reggie Bullock may have been called ass. When he was signed to this Knicks team, I was like, oh man, this guy is ass. I don't know how he's going to help us.
A lot of people said he was ass.
But what he's shown is how great Tom Thibodeau is, because he's given Reggie Bullock a definable role that he can excel in. And that's why the coaching of this New York Knicks team is just an embodiment of what these guys have progressed to do. Look at R.J. Barrett, who couldn't hit the side of a barn last year, who's now making key clutch three-point shots. And you got to run out at the guy now. You can't just leave him open. R.J. Barrett's been taking the ball strong to the basket. I mean, even if he's shooting 2 for 10, you have a guy that literally has no chill, and I love that. You have Emmanuel Quickly, who's coming off the bench, and he's shooting lights out. He has the green light. Sometimes you worry about him shooting shots 4 feet out from the three-point line, but the confidence that he's shown has been very, very, very important to the growth of the team as well, because I was talking to Jeffrey about this, and I promise this is my last bit of the Knicks talk, but what I'll say is this: the Knicks are a team that has no expectations. This team, nobody expected nothing from. They got a bunch of role players that nobody cares about and that nobody wanted. And from that point, what we've seen is this team has kind of taken that blue-collar, lunch pail work ethic to the point where now they've vaulted themselves into 4th place. And they're still hungry. And even in 4th place, and even as well as they're playing, I tell you what, nobody wants to see them right now. We've had them going 11 times against the spread where they've won. You're on an 8-game win streak where you've beaten some quality teams and where you've had to go against playoff caliber opponents. But, the main thing about this Knicks team is the most dangerous thing, and what I've told Jeffrey is, this is a team that nobody expects anything from. And when you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. And this Knicks team goes out every single night and plays hard. You might blow that team out, but you are going to get the hardest 42, 48 minutes that you've ever seen from this Knicks team in over a decade.
No team wants to play him. No team wants to play him because they're going to come back with a nub.
So, I tell you this, with the effort that the Knicks are playing with, and with the amount of expectations that are not there for this team, you have a dangerous team come down the stretch. And, I told Jeffrey this. I mean, if you see the Brooklyn Nets, in the semifinals, I would love to see that playoff matchup. And Brooklyn better win the first 2 games, because if you drop 1 or 2 games to the Knicks in a playoff series where you're supposed to win the championship, that could be a dangerous series for not just the Nets, but for any team in the Eastern Conference. But, I thank you to all the Knicks fans out there that have been, sticking true with the Knicks. I've heard a lot of people that were, doubting this team, talking about, Tom Thibodeau would run these guys to the ground. I've heard a lot of things about just how fragile the players were on the Knicks and just how they couldn't do it. But continue to doubt them, because I promise you this Knicks team will be in the playoffs. And, if they can just stay out of that play-in tournament, you could see a long run from this Knicks team. But I did promise you all a nice guest here on the show. I'd love to talk Knicks all day with you, but I do have somebody who's itching and raring to go here to be on the show. He's had one of the best YouTube video episodes here on the show. He's not someone who's afraid to be himself and speak his mind. And to that is why he's earned himself a second chair on this Talk That Talk show. So everybody, please give a warm round of applause for my boy Andrew Disney.
What up? How you doing, brother?
Ooh.
What's going on, world? How are you out there?
I'm doing good, man. But from the last time we saw you, you were on a double feature episode with Skilly, and that happened a little bit time ago. So can you talk to everybody and tell me what you've been up to since that last episode aired?
Since the last episode, I've just been trying to keep my head above water, keep myself out of trouble, and keep myself happy. And I've been doing a pretty good job of all 3. So I'm alright, and I've been working hard. It's summertime, so I also work for a heating and air conditioning company. I'm not gonna step on nobody's toes, so I'm not gonna shout them out. But it's getting hot and busy, so we're doing good.
Oh, man, and I think, the big thing that you talk about and that you mentioned was, keeping yourself happy. And I know me personally, I've gotten to the golf course a lot more. I'm going to be going out with the fam tomorrow. I've gotten a lot of, bowling is ramped up. So, those are some of the things that, have been activities to help me, be happy and to exercise and have that enjoyment. So what have been those things that, you've added to your life to help you to maintain that happiness?
I smoke a lot of weed.
Which is now legal in Jersey.
Yeah, so don't worry about that. No, I just, excuse me, I think for me personally, keeping myself happy is being aware of my thoughts and what I'm thinking and where I'm at on a day-to-day basis. So I've been trying to, make sure that I'm not too off kilter and too out of whack. So, nothing specific. I've been smoking some weed, I've been watching some TV. I just watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was dope. So I just been trying to, I've been working a lot and just staying out the way is the best way I could put it. That keeps me happy.
Hey, and, I think that, those activities and the things that you're passionate, whether it be smoking or watching movies or and you talked a little bit before about how passionate you were with your job, and I think those are all things that are definitely can attribute to happiness and to self-sustain that as well too. But I think that one of the things that is hard for us, and sometimes it can be a little bit gray area, is to provide those self-litmus tests or whatever. So what kind of self-litmus tests do you do for yourself to make sure that that you're okay?
All right, so for me, I have like automatic thoughts. So if my automatic thoughts start to skew negative or in a less than friendly way, I kind of check myself and assess what's going on in my life around me. Is everything, proper? Am I slacking anywhere? Or just trying to, be very aware of what I'm thinking, why I'm thinking it, and trying to avoid situations that cause me to have automatic negative thoughts. Because negative thoughts happen, but the automatic ones are the ones that I find troubling. But I just, once I see them, I stop. I reassess what's going on, and if there's things that need to be changed, they are changed. And if there's things I need to calm down on, I calm down on, and just try to, keep a daily inventory of myself and where I'm at.
Facts. And I think that for me personally, the way that I kind of had those negative thoughts were, especially today, I didn't even want to go to the gym. I just came back from Atlantic City, had a great time, but I didn't necessarily want to exactly go and do it,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part of the way that I was able to push past those negative thoughts and I could get it tomorrow, I'm too tired, was to remember the goal that I had of being on the beach with my shirt off and enjoying that, and the progress that I've taken to get to that.
That time is coming, so
yeah,
I hope you've been on it.
Hey, I tell you what, like I said, I feel great. I've been in much better spirits, and that the physical health is helped with that mental. But I guess one of the things that I wanted to ask you was how, when those negative thoughts come in your mind, what do you do to try and like push those out? Like I said, for me,
like specifically,
yeah.
So one trick that I don't know where I picked up somewhere is like I try to immediately think the opposite.
Okay.
So like whatever it is that I'm thinking that's like causing me stress or whatever, I try to immediately think of the opposite and consider that that's also a possibility. So often it's like I'm thinking that everything is the worst and that the worst is what's going to happen. But then I have to take a step back and be like, you know what? It could go the other way. Mm-hmm. And it could just be my negative ass trying to put a negative spin on everything. Mm-hmm. So I think that is, so basically just things internally, like thought exercises, like someone once described thoughts to me as like a conveyor belt, and like they're going around, but you don't have to open every box. You don't have to look into every thought and start to dig around and fall into a rabbit hole of nonsense. You can just kind of let some of the nonsense pass and keep it moving. So things like that, things I've picked up, talked to good people in my life, have helped me do some little things inside of my own brain that keep me grounded and from acting crazy. So that's good for all of y'all.
Facts. And staying grounded is a very, very important thing, especially in a time of now of just such uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, what you've kind of spoke on is largely in part of just the importance of maintaining that mental health and making sure that you are taking the steps to do the right things to give the best version of yourself every single day. Mm-hmm. And that's very underrated, man.
But also not beating yourself up if you don't do your best every day. Because there's a lot of days, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong. So don't be too hard on yourself if you didn't quite pull through it like you wanted to. Like if you didn't go to the gym today, that would have been something you can say to yourself, like, damn, I should have did that. But also not beating yourself up about it and being like, wow, I'm such a piece of shit because I didn't go to the gym. So you got to find like a happy balance.
And I think that's true. Definitely a happy balance, keyword balance, because I on the opposite end of the spectrum, at least for me, it's like when you have those negative thoughts where you don't want to do it, but then you pretty much, rise to that mountaintop and conquer those negative thoughts. It's just an exhilarating feeling, and then it kind of like puts you on that path to what more can I do. Definitely. But I think one of the things that you definitely talked before a little bit about was I think you said a little bit before about how you wanted to talk about the Jets, and I don't know why this guy wants to talk.
So from depression to the Jets, that's like a very comfortable segue.
It's a good segue. But what we've had is, and like I said, I've mentioned it so many times before, where you have a guy in Woody, who walks.
Woody Johnson.
Yeah, Woody Johnson, who walk around the practice facility with a mustard stain on his shirt. Just the representation of this team. And we've had a lot of turmoil with this New York Jets team.
That we have.
First thing I wanted to ask you about, though, was, did you think that they were right in shipping off Sam Darnold? And did you think that he was that franchise player for your team?
So, no, I never thought he was the franchise quarterback. I really wanted Baker Mayfield. I mean, there's questions about him as well. But, the draft shook out the way it did. We got Sam Darnold. I'm not a fan of California quarterbacks coming to New York. He never seemed like he had the gumption. Mm-hmm. I think he kind of seemed like a bitch. No disrespect, Sam Darnold, but you seem like a bitch. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Oh man!
But no, I on the flip side of that, I think the kid had skill. I think he had talent, and I think that it wasn't developed properly in New York. I think Adam Gase is literally the worst coach of like all time ever to ever exist. Adam Gase is the worst. I hate that man. No. But he messed up Sam Darnold, and I think that he should have had one more shot to prove himself. Also, I think as a building for building our team, keeping him, using the number 2 pick on a stud that we need at a position other than the quarterback, using the number 23 pick, using our second round picks, and then seeing what Sam Darnold could do. We got a couple blue chip players on the squad, and we don't have to pay him the 5th year option just yet. We're still paying him whatever it was on his last year of the rookie deal. So I think it would have been financially prudent to keep Sam Darnold. But I don't get to make decisions, and I was upset that they let him go. But I understand why they did it. I think he got a raw deal. I do think he'd be acting like a bitch, but I would have gave him another shot.
But I think that a great thing to ask also, speaking just beyond Sam Darnold, is the fact that, we just talked about how the Knicks were a rebuilding franchise that kind of gotten themselves into competitive basketball games. What is it going to take for the Jets franchise to move out of this rebuilding stage that seems to have been since
forever? Since I was born in 1990, we've been rebuilding for the New York Jets.
So how does this Jets team leave a rebuilding state to play competitive football games in the AFC East?
Get Thibodeau.
That's a tough. Get Tom Thibodeau. Yeah. No, I think it's a culture thing. I think the Jets never really had a firm, sturdy foundation on which to build, and I think without that, you're never going to succeed. I hope Robert Saleh is that guy who can bring that, and Joe Douglas. I kind of believe in them a little bit at this point. I'm still cautiously optimistic, but I think it's just a culture thing. I think the Jets have kind of always been the redheaded stepchild to the Giants, and they kind of like bought into that belief system, or they kind of operated like they were the second fiddle team in New York. So I think belief, confidence, and putting that culture first is where they need to start. Also, talent evaluators and maybe scheme and things like that, but just mainly culture is what it is, I think.
And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people were big on Joe Judge on in New York, is establishing that winning culture, that competitive culture, where that Giants team was going into the last week potentially in a playoff hunt, And you have Matt Landrum here who says that your New York Jets are trash, and that he says that Zach Wilson is going to be a bust in the league.
He most certainly will be a bust. I hope they draft Justin Fields, but they're not going to listen to me. And Matt Landrum, the Dolphins suck.
So why do you feel that Zach Wilson is going to be a bust in the league?
Because I personally am a person who thinks, competition matters. I don't know, like every time he played against, I don't know the exact numbers, but I've seen it on some, morning sports talk show, that against like Power 5 conferences, he's got a pretty okay record, pretty okay stats, and like he really dominated against lesser competition. And in the NFL, there is no lesser competition. So I'm not really feeling Zach Wilson. Where's he from? BYU.
BYU.
Is he a Mormon? I don't know. No, I'm just. If he is, who cares? But I don't know. I just am a little bit weary of us drafting Zach Wilson number 2. I wouldn't do it, me personally.
Well, I mean, it's definitely interesting to see where the Jets go with things. And, I feel as though, the Jets are going to be a franchise that needs a lot of help. They do need culture. They need talent. They need a great coach. Hopefully we can see if Salah's that guy.
I think he is that guy. I think he's got the right stuff. Mm-hmm. He's certainly gonna provide that culture shift. I think. He is a rigid guy, which I think is what we need. I think Todd Bowles was the last time we were kind of competitive, and he was similarly rigid, also defensive minded. What we really need is some fucking cornerbacks. We don't have any fucking cornerbacks, and that's the problem. Safeties are alright. Our linebackers, our defensive line, our front. We're probably gonna shit on you with our defensive line. Like, I don't care who you are. We're probably gonna shit on you.
Well, the Jets have traditionally had a pretty decent defense.
We need some corners. we needed like some interior offensive linemen and then a quarterback, but we've needed that for a long time.
And when we talk about these sports teams and these sporting events, one of the things that prevents people from going now is the vast requirements that you have to go to these games, and a lot of these stadiums are now requiring you to either have a 72-hour prior negative COVID test, or the obvious option that a lot of people want to do is just to get vaccinated, right? I know you've talked briefly about it beforehand, but what is your stance on vaccinations? Are you going to get vaccinated? And is this something and what do you see as this trend moving forward?
I'm not gonna get vaccinated right now. I think it'd be wise to wait. I think people right now are kind of the guinea pigs, kind of the test dummies, and unfortunately, the world found itself in a situation, so we needed to create a vaccine and we needed to test it, and that's kind of what's happening right now. So I would hold off. And if that means I can't go to a sporting event, then fuck them. I'll be all right. I'll watch it on TV. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, I'm not getting no vaccine until I feel like it's absolutely necessary, which I don't even feel right like that right now.
Why do you feel it's not absolutely necessary?
Cause I don't know. I mean, I know it's still out there. I still go around. I'm still wearing my mask, but I'm not 6 feet away from you right now, and we ain't got no masks on. So I'm just kind of moving like we alive. I don't feel sick. You know what I mean? I'm not out here trying to put myself in any position to be all close to nobody or do anything like that. But I don't know. I feel like I was never gonna die if I got it. I know that sounds crazy and that don't make no sense. But I feel like me personally, and I'm only speaking for me, if I get COVID, I ain't gonna die. I should have died way more other times. If COVID's what takes me out, then I fucked up. I'm telling you.
So I have a couple comments we have here. I gotta laugh at this one. Matt Landry says, Dr. Diz is my primary care physician.
Then you're in good hands, Matt Landry.
But we have Tori, we have Ish said, wow, this dude really called me a test buddy, wow, which is Ish. And then also we have here my sister who said, Morgan just offered the vaccine to all student athletes and it's required to return to campus in the fall. And I think that that's a huge topic because now we got to talk about like I said, the direction of where this is moving. We've seen that Rutgers...
It's about to be discriminatory. We're about to be to a point... This is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no,
but I really believe that we're going to get to a point where you go into restaurants and shit, and there's a COVID side and a non-COVID side. Or you go to a stadium, it's oh, you don't have COVID or you didn't get tested, y'all niggas go over here. Oh, you have been, y'all go over here. That's where I think we're going. I don't think it's ever going away, per se. It's definitely not... Maybe not going to seem as intrusive in our lives, but it's always going to be there, and I think that we're certainly moving towards a point where it could get discriminatory if you do not have a vaccine, which I don't know how I feel about. I got to process that, but it is scary times. Weird shit is going on.
And I will say this, that the one thing that I've experienced, I'm somebody that, I've said, previously that, I'm not somebody that wants to jump out to go get the vaccine myself. And, and I'm not knocking anybody that wants to do that.
Yeah, do you.
But one of the things that, I have seen, and I can only speak on this on just pure experience, is the fact that sometimes where you go to these bowling alleys and you have people that have been vaccinated, where the vaccine is now providing this false sense of hope. And what I mean by false sense of hope is the fact that people are saying that, oh, why the fuck do I have to have a mask on? I've been vaccinated. And I've literally seen one of my friends who got the vaccine who did get COVID still. So it's
I saw some bitch on World Star's face get paralyzed.
And we can talk about all these different things, but I think the main important thing that I want to get across is that whether you get vaccinated or not, everybody's going to have their own reasons. But just because you are vaccinated, my main thing I'm going to say is you still have to take the precautions and protocols. Like I said, I see people walking through the alley with no mask on and acting like, oh, why do you have a mask on? Because I still want to make sure that I'm safe and I have other people around me that I'm trying to keep safe. And that's the one thing that I have to say about people that have gotten the vaccine is that it's become a little bit more lax. And then on top of that, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I feel as though also sometimes it's almost not become normal to have people accept that people don't want to get this vaccine. I had a conversation with Mary Beth. Shout out to Mary Beth, I love her, but she was trying to make me seem out to be this terrible person because I didn't want to get the vaccine. Yeah, so how do you feel about those people, and have you been pressured to then get the vaccine from some people that have gotten it already?
Ain't nobody pressuring me to do shit. But I personally, I don't really buy into that. Like, I'm my own person. I get to make my own choice. So, like, I just for me, I don't really buy into shit like that. So, I don't really care how you feel. That's it. I don't really care how you feel. Like Mary Beth or whomever she is, I'm sure she's a lovely lady. But if she were to say that to me, I would say, Mary Beth, I'm sorry, but I don't give a fuck. And that's that.
And there's respectful ways of saying that. I told her straight up, like, it's not on my priorities list, but like, I want to see my grandma, so I'll take the vaccine to protect her and my other family members. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
and that's your choice, and I respect that. But like, my grandma's dead. I ain't going to see her. So I know that I don't put myself in positions to harm others. I'm like pretty solo by myself most of the time. It's either me and my girl. And like, I'm not out here coughing on people and shit. So I feel that I'm doing what I need to do for me. If you do what you need to do for you, and that includes getting a vaccine, then I'm all for it. But you know what I mean? Don't think that you have some sort of, higher moral ground now because you're willing to get a vaccine, because I don't think that that's true.
Well, I don't want to equate morality into this in that sense where, people are thinking you're higher over other people because you have this vaccine. Because what I will say, just like Ish said, there are people out there that do need to do it to protect those loved ones and stuff. But what I just want to say is that it needs to be normalized that you can't force this vaccine down people's throat. And then on top of that this is not just the end all do all, that by you getting this vaccine, meaning you don't have to take precautions. We still have to do the things to make sure that we can go in the right direction. And, shout out to the people that are brave enough to, like you said, be guinea pigs, because it does take,
some courage that I do not have, because I'm not going to get it.
And that's a fact. Like, think about it. Those first people that took the Underground Railroad, there was no, they were test dummies there themselves. So, it really depends on just how much you're willing to get where that goal is for you all. And, I'm just happy that, for me, things are going in the right direction, as far as trying to get those things back. And I know for me, a big step of that was having the 100th episode, where we got to have a live recording of the show, and we had people showing up, drinking beer, having a good time, and it was a little bit normal. What event for you, or what kind of thing that happened where you kind of saw things going to the point where, okay, things are getting a little bit normal again?
That's a good question. I think for me, I go off of like other people's reaction. Like at work, for example, like there was a moment where like we were all masked up, everybody was scared, everybody was sanitizing, everybody was doing everything, and then just maybe naturally or whatever, maybe out of laziness, it just seems to have gotten more lax. I just feel like my everyday life is less impeded by COVID than it was certainly this time last year, or even like 6 months ago. Like I still maneuver, I still move out, I'm still going out to eat and stuff, like not as much, but I'm still out there, you know what I mean? I'm going to the bar, I can't sit at the bar, but we could sit at a table next to the bar. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know, I guess the world becoming more normal and allowing more things kind of just gave me the feeling that, shit was getting better. But moreover, like I'm never one to live my life like, by fear. So like, just because something could happen bad, I'm not gonna not do something, and that's just me. So
we said Ishabai Crane says, remember when everybody was buying mad toilet paper, and that was not too long ago though. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, I don't know if it is for you, but sometimes for me, it's almost like we've had COVID time now, right? Where it's like, pre-COVID, during COVID and stuff.
Like the generation of kids born is going to be like generation isolation or some shit like that.
Facts. Well, let me ask you this then, Andrew. I know we've talked about vaccinations. I know we've talked about, just the overall importance of, taking things, seriously. As we move on past this, right? How comfortable would you feel living life now without a mask? Do you feel like, once things, get better, you would still wear a mask?
I don't think I would. That's a good question. I never really contemplated that because it's kind of just here now. You know what I mean? It is normal to me to put on a mask to go into a store, which is crazy because 2 years ago, if someone had said, hey, in 2 years you have to put on a mask to go into a store, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable. Like, would I ever go to like a concert like with 30,000 people shoulder to shoulder? Am I going to like a water park again? I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity. I am a little nervous about it, I guess. And in big crowds, I think anything that draws large crowds is something that us as people are always kind of gonna think twice about going forward. Well, not to say I won't do it. I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity, but just I know for myself, if I'm in a room tightly packed together with like 12 to 15 to 30 like strangers, I think to myself like, where have these niggas been? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? I was walking down the street the other day, and there was a girl and her daughter, and the daughter sneezed, and I crossed the street. And it was just natural. Like, I didn't even think about it. Like, I just literally just was like, oh, gotta go. That bitch got COVID. and she might not have. It could have been allergies. It's pollen out here. But I don't know. I sure as fuck walked to the other side right away. So I don't think we as humans, like, there's a certain level of trauma that comes with shit like this. Like, we was locked up in our houses.
For months.
They changed our way of life. They're forcing vaccinations on us. Like, this is a monumental moment in history, human history. So there's going to be some lingering effects. I don't think we're ever going to be back to normal again.
And I have to say myself, I probably will still wear the mask because, for me, I've never had COVID yet. Thank God.
I think I had it. I think I had it in December of 2018. I remember I went to a Jets game. I'm gonna tell you a straight story. This is no bullshit. So I was sick as fuck, like sick. Like, I'm not like one who's like, no, I was sick, bro. Like, shit hurt, like body aches. Like, I never had the flu before, but like that's all I could equate it to. Was like, this has to be the flu. Like, I was out of commission, couldn't eat, hot, cold, sweats. Like, it was bad. And I went to the Medi-Merge, and they did like a swab or whatever, and some other tester, and they were like, you might have the flu, you might have strep throat. We're not really sure what you got, but here, take this, and hopefully you feel better. And then I went to my boy's house. I stopped at his house for like an hour, and I was like, I was cognizant of the fact that I felt like shit. So I didn't want to be around nobody. Like, I didn't smoke no blunts with nobody. I ain't drink no beers or nothing. But they were having a Christmas party later that night. And, like, I shit you not, like, 40 people got sick from being at that Christmas party. Some of them, like, went to the hospital, but nobody knew what the fuck it was. Like, and the doctor straight said to me, you might have the flu, you might have strep throat, we don't really know. That was his diagnosis. So, after the world kind of unraveled, I thought to myself, like, yo, maybe that's what the fuck was wrong with me, because I never felt like that before.
So you have people in here in the chat that are saying, wow, that's wild if you had it in 2018. So do you truly believe that this has been something that has been around for, years now that we just never knew about?
I think, maybe, am I wrong? Nah, it was 2008, whatever. I don't know. Ask Brittany. Whenever we went to that Jets game, it might have been 2019. I be fucked up sometimes. I'm sorry, people. But it was either December of 2018, December 2019. But December 2019 don't make no sense because the March shit, it was like March 2019 when it popped off. So yeah, it was December 2018. The Jets played the Steelers and we bust that ass. Haha. Sorry, Brittany. But so yeah, so I was sick as fuck, and they didn't know what it was. Like 40 people got sick, and like some of them like were in the hospital and shit, and no one knew what it was, I really think that shit was COVID. So yes, I do believe it was out, and we just didn't know about it.
Well, one of the things that we actually do know about, stemming past COVID, is that I'm becoming each and every trip, I'm becoming more and more in love with Atlantic City. I'm gonna tell you why this next casino is gonna be my new favorite casino. But I want to hear from you. What is your favorite casino to go into Atlantic City, and why?
So I'm gonna answer that question, but I have a something that I want to get off my chest.
Okay.
So for some reason, last night around like 8 or 9 p.m., me and my girlfriend decide, let's go to Parks Casino. So we go to Parks Casino. Okay. We get super fucked up. We lose a bunch of money. We drive back home. We're all sick. I had to go to work today. It was a terrible day at work. And I don't even know why I'm telling that story, but you said Atlantic City. It just reminded me that I literally brought my silly ass to Parks Casino at 8 p.m. last night for no goddamn reason and lost $400. But I digress. My favorite casino in Atlantic City is probably Harrah's because I've had the most luck there. I'm more of a Bayside guy. I mean, the boardwalk is kind of like shot now anyway, but I was always I like Borgata Harrah's. So I would say Borgata to like party and chill, Harrah's to gamble.
All right, well, I'll tell you this, man. I've been somebody, I've stayed all over. I stayed at Borgata, stayed at Trop, stayed at Hard Rock. They definitely all have their, things. I really liked how clean Hard Rock Cafe was. I feel like a lot of the other casinos, they do look a little bit old and shamby, right? Yeah. But when I tried to place out this past time for the first time in Atlantic City. And I think one of the things that's so underrated is that when you park your car in that parking garage, how long does it take to get to your room? That walk seems like I'm walking at least like 2 miles, right? Another thing, parking sometimes it's a little expensive at some of these casinos, right? I'm going to say for the first time, I stayed at Golden Nugget, right? And Golden Nugget had free parking.
Can't beat it.
And on top of that, I was in my room with less than 5 minutes just from going from the parking lot, right? And on top of that, I want to give also a big shout out to my boy Admiral because...
You got a friend named Admiral?
I got a friend named Admiral. I call him the Admiral.
That's a dope-ass name.
But anyway, Admiral, one of the things that... we joke about is, and we've spent a lot of time. We'll be golfing with him and Cheddar Bob for an amazing matchup on Monday.
Admiral, Cheddar Bob, and Barry.
Yeah, the golf course.
That's fucking crazy.
I'm telling you, man, these two are probably some of the best golfers that I've seen. So to be able to see this matchup with them, it's truly amazing. But I say this all to say is that, Admiral is constantly telling me these little golf tidbits that, like, apply to golf, but at the same time, they apply to your life, right? So one of the things he always jokes about is these approach shots, right? You can either, try and chip it close to the green so you can chip it on for a putt, or you can just say, fuck it, I'm going after the pin, right? So we'll always, he'll always say, Holmes, what do you think I should do, right? And, I'll tell him, play it safe, go over here. He goes, I ain't come here to lay up. You know what I'm saying? So
I was just thinking to myself, my answer would have been, fuck it, dog.
Yeah. So he said, I ain't come here to lay up. So I kid you not. I went we were just leaving, the Golden Nugget. I was like, all right, let's hit this machine. And, they have all the different buttons. And, I just looked at the max bet. And I'm just looking at it for a second. And I'm like,
he won.
I ain't come here to lay up, man. So I hit it a couple times. I wound up winning about $400-something bucks. And
this motherfucker over here telling me he won $400. I just told you I lost $400.
I know,
Must
man.
be nice.
But
Must be nice.
Like I said, the key phrase is to be able to pay for the golf tomorrow for my parent, for my dad, my brother, to be able to give my mom some chicken. It was really dope because one of the things that we always talk about in bowling when we would win money is that you always got to spread the wealth because when you spread it, it comes back to you.
Yeah.
And I just say that story to say, you always gotta be in it to win it. I ain't come here to lay up, man.
What's funny? The last time that just reminded me. The last time I was here, I told you about a story when I was in not Las Vegas, when I was in AC, and the dealer told me it was about to put the 20 on the queens or whatever. Like you're gonna get 2 queens and they'll give you whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, fuck that. He was like, scared money don't make no money. That motherfucker was right. And ever since then, I've been losing money ever since.
Well, and I tell you what, in closing, like I said, it's definitely a lot of different tidbits that you can get. Like I said, from my buddy in golf, where I've tried to apply them. And it's so easy to get different things from people and different information that you can apply. And my question to you is that is there anything recently that someone's told you or something that's kind of been an influence to you that you've taken every single day and applied?
Well, I kind of touched on it earlier. Kind of a way to understand thoughts and thinking for me personally. I mean, I kind of think it applies to everybody, but for myself, just knowing that I don't have to dwell on every thought that passes through my mind. And that was an eye-opening thing for me, and it definitely helped me in my journey and my stuff, and maybe it'll help you too.
And it's true. I mean, life is tough, man. But like you said, a lot of times we make it tougher on ourselves, and it's tough because we're human, man. But I like to say, from the first time that you had an episode on this show, you definitely seem just way more, just conscious of the surrounding world around you, man. And
well, thank you. I try.
No, and seriously, man, I'm just so happy to have you here on the show in much better spirits. And I think that type of growth is the same thing that we highlight here on the show, where each and every week I try to get better and try and maintain things to a point where people are entertained. And I think that for you to come on here and show who you are without I think the last time you might not have taken yourself as seriously, and I think that here now you've taken yourself so much more seriously, man. And I think that it's hard, especially when you have things that are happening, and sometimes it can seem like a slippery slope downhill. But I just want you to know that there has been concrete progress that you have made, not only as a person, but just as a strong individual. And like you said, it's so easy to overlook these young and these little wins, but these little wins are the things that make the bigger, greater outcome. So I just want to thank you for getting better and hell yeah, and taking things and making them positive, bro, because
I be trying.
I be trying. But once again, I want to thank you again for being a guest here on the show, Andrew. Like I said, guys, each and every week we're going to continue to try and get better, give you all the things that you want to hear about. We got my boy Brian Spawn, who's been, vehemently chatting in the chat here, talking about.
That's a good word.
You like that,
That's
right?
a good fucking
Come on, man. Write that one down.
Vehemently.
But nah, he's been, really in the chat talking about just our Mets. And, I'm a huge Mets fan. To be able to see Jacob deGrom, I think he said he has about 15 Ks here and pitching well. I just hope that the Mets can get this guy some run support.
Wait, 15 Ks like right now?
In the chat, that's what he put in there. He's got about...
Has he got a no-hitter going? Or?
I'm not sure. I think we'll have to, get off the air here and check that out.
My bad, people.
Nah, it's all right. It's all right. But, like I said, to see the Mets playing competitive games, I think that's something that we've all expected from them. But the thing is, the Mets are on the opposite end of the spectrum here of the Knicks, where the Knicks are excelling because they have no expectations.
I wanted to ask you two questions. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
So sorry.
What you want to ask?
All right,
me,
so
man?
I wanted to ask you. So you said Julius Randle is in your MVP discussion.
Yes.
So it's a vote of 5. I want to hear your 5 MVPs, 1 through 5.
Okay. I think, without question, you got to put James Harden in that category. James Harden's been somebody who's vaulted that Nets team since he's came to that team.
So you're not ranking. You're just putting...
I'm just putting them in there. Okay, I'm going to put also in that conversation Donovan Mitchell. Okay. I mean, if you look at that Jazz team without Donovan Mitchell, they look very, very okay. And when you look at them with him, they're a number 1 or 2 team in the Western Conference. So I got to put him in that conversation. Another person that I know a lot of people don't want to put in there is Joel Embiid. With a new coach, with different teammates, he's been able to amass that team to a second seed in the Eastern Conference. they haven't had Ben Simmons consistently all year, so you got to put him in there. I'm going to put Julius Randle in there because that boy has been a dog, an absolute dog. And, I think that, every year you got to put him in here, but somebody who constantly is overlooked. And this is actually interchangeable for me because these two can interchange. I would either put Damian Lillard or Steph Curry in that last spot because if you look at that Warriors team, you got Nico Mannion out there. If you don't got Steph Curry, he has been balling.
CP3?
I wouldn't put CP3 in there. I wouldn't put him as an MVP in there. I think he's done very well for that team, but I want to see what that team does in the postseason with CP3 because CP3
he flames out.
Yeah, I mean, in Houston, he didn't get it done with Houston.
But MVP is a regular season award.
It's a regular, and I tell you what, that's why. I mean, I still people love Giannis, but I can't put him in that conversation because
and you sleeping on the Joker. You sleeping on the Joker. That boy is nasty.
Hey, I gave him his credit.
Nasty.
But when we talk about most valuable player, I mean, Jokic has, some good quality players.
Yeah.
You got Aaron Gordon, who he just got over in a trade. You got Jamal Murray. I know he was hurt, but he was one of the best players coming out of the bubble. That team was deep.
He's
balling. Yeah, Joker's balling.
And you didn't say LeBron. And I hate
can't,
LeBron James.
I can't.
I'm a LeBron James hater, but the Lakers are trash without this man.
They don't have AD either.
But
AD
without
came back. AD came back.
Without AD, LeBron was still keeping them afloat. Without LeBron, they were donezo. Done. It was bad.
But
He's the most valuable player every year, probably. But you gotta put him in. You gotta put him at least in the top 5. You gotta.
Here's the thing, though. I have a problem putting a guy in there in the MVP conversation when he hasn't played, an entire season. I mean, when you look at most valuable players, I'm talking about a guy who I can depend on every single game this season. I know what LeBron has done in the past, but we're talking this season. And this season, I think there are a lot more valuable players that have excelled their teams past what the Lakers have done. Lakers went to the championship already. Just how much more valuable can this guy get? But when you talk about
there is no more valuable than LeBron James. It's out of this world, but I respect your opinion.
Well, I have a question.
Hold on. You have Ishabad Crane here who says, I love LeBron, but he can't be MVP because he didn't play. So there you go.
That's fair, but James ain't been in a while, too. James Harden. Just keep that in mind.
Now, before we get over there, you did say, I don't want you to forget.
Oh, the second thing I wanted to mention is I agree with well, it's not a question. Actually, it was a statement in response to your opening soliloquy. I told you I was going to get that word in here.
There you go.
I do think the Knicks are a threat. They remind me a lot of Miami last year. Just keep that in mind.
And in Miami did
go to the championship game.
and they excelled expectations. And again, just like we talked about before about knowing your role, this Knicks team had no expectations, and nobody expected anything out of that Miami team.
At all.
And look what they did. But I guess we have my dad who has one more question before we hop off. So what's your question?
Okay, so LeBron James just said that he cannot be considered an MVP because he did not play. Let's go to the Rookie of the Year. LaMelo, okay? Can he still be considered Rookie of the Year? He has not played the whole season.
Now, what do you say about that?
Is he the most impressive rookie that you saw this year?
Is he the most impressive rookie that I've seen this year?
He's
yes.
the most impressive rookie
I would
I've
say
seen
yes.
this year. So
but
I would give him Rookie of the Year.
But I can't give him that Rookie of the Year because you gotta play this. You gotta play the whole season. I mean, look at Kyrie Irving, right? I mean, Kyrie Irving could have been the best player coming out of NCAA basketball, and he could have been Naismith of the Year award winner. But he only played 8 games. You know what I'm saying? So you can definitely qualify for an award, but you gotta have the body of work to get that award. I think Anthony Edwards is another somebody that has been absolutely, killing it or whatever. Somebody, I would even go as to say maybe about Emmanuel Quickly, who's not going to get a lot of acclaim for Rookie of the Year, but if you look at what he's done consistently with being asked to excel in his role and continue to play every single game, you got to give credit to that. I think that, the Rookie of the Year, and I've talked to Peter about this a lot of times with these awards, but the problem, and I don't know if you can, highlight this too, but the problem that comes down to when you have all these different awards is the criteria is constantly changing. Yeah. What do we define as a most valuable player? Some people do championships. Some people say individual stats. Some people say winning matters. Everything has changed as far as what is defined as an MVP, a Rookie of the Year, and there's no defined criteria. But I think for me and for what a lot of other people that, truly vote in these and think about giving someone that award, you gotta have the body of work. You gotta be there.
I could see that argument. I mean, for me, like I said, it's who's the rookie that is the best. Like, who's the guy that I'm gonna say on my squad, oh, we got a dog, we got a guy we could build around for, the next 6-10 years. You know what I'm saying? So I think just what I saw with my eyes, he's the best one to come out this year. But I could kind of, I maybe, all right, I'll go over to his point. There should be, you do got to be there. You got to be there.
Facts.
That just makes sense. You got to be there. So I'll buy into that. I don't want to, unwillingly, but I'll buy into it.
Facts. But, like I said, guys, this is the Talk That Talk show. We've had a lot of great topics here on the show today. Andrew absolutely killed it today and provided some great feedback here. Everyone, again, thank you for posting in the comments. I remember one of the things that our college professor would say is, if you don't participate in class, it's going to be a boring fucking class, So I think that just the fact that you all are so, so quick to post in the chat and make things interesting and asking these questions, I think that, it's what makes this show what it is. And you guys continuously tune in. I think it's so easy to get caught up on who didn't tune in. But like I said, I've seen so many people and new people that continue to tune in and build and grow this show. And that's what instills confidence to have people like Andrew come here on this show and support. So once again, before I end this show, for the final time, we're going to give a special shout out to VW Liquors, located in Wick Plaza, Edison, New Jersey. Let's go, Mets! Let's go, Mets! We're going to miss VW Liquors as a sponsorship. Guys, get all of your business over there to them before they close out, man. It's been a small business staple here in Edison.
Yeah, that is sad, though.
Family business.
That shit's been there forever.
Right? And it's the harsh reality of what we live in now. But, you just got to keep moving forward, man. My best of wishes to them and their continued success. I want to give a shout out to Air We Are, helping people to get their heating and cooling needs in.
Call them, Air We Are.
Yes. Also want to give a shout out to Savion over at Sky-Dye Socks, helping to make some fresh threads. Want to give a shout out to Joe Snow and Maria over at New York Life, helping people to get their financial freedom every single day. And then finally, want to give a big shout out to my boy Tim Hugel over at Ink Parlor, helping to make my dope ass threads that I drop for you all. So once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Talk That Talk show. Like I said, we're at over 13,000 downloads, over 100 different episodes. And it could be so easy to get caught up in, this episode didn't get as much play as the last one. But, one of the things that I said and I truly believe is, this is something that is a part of culture now, and people look forward to this. So, regardless of whether you're here or whether you're not here, I'll be here. All right? And I thank you so much to the people that do support this show, that do believe in me, and that do tune in each and every week. And once again, I want to give a big thank you to Andrew Disney for coming out here and rocking this show. I'll see you all next week, and keep staying tuned because you never know who we're going to have on the show.